Just a casual Friday for the Ohio State Buckeyes, I suppose, or at least what feels like the entire month of January and certainly the beginning of February so far. This is just par for the course. A big day for Ohio State in that Bill O'Brien is officially on his way from Columbus after a nice, roughly 3-week stay. I don't know if I'd call it a 3-week vacation. I think he worked, but Bill O'Brien is on his way to Boston College, and reportedly, within a couple hours of that announcement going official, Ohio State is reportedly going to bring Chip Kelly to town. Anthony, I want your feedback on a move that I think feels like an accidental potential upgrade, actually.
And I totally agree with it, right? Like we've been talking about Bill O'Brien and been getting excited about what he brings to the table. And I think for Chip Kelly, it's a lot of the same. You know, it's a lot of that similar experience, right? Coached in the NFL, has had some really great college football experience at Oregon, right? Made that program an entire dynasty. Was really successful as the head coach at UCLA as well. So he brings a level of experience that I think matches Bill O'Brien, but also his offense is fun. Like, with you kind of knew what you were going to get with Bill O'Brien, a really good offense, but with Chip Kelly, you're like, hey, we have the potential to never be in a huddle for the rest of time as long as he's the coach, and it's just up and down the field, the good stuff, the fun stuff, fireworks all game long. So it's an exciting hire, and it's one that, you know, Ohio State fans should be totally fired up about.
Yeah, and look, I can't wait to see what this looks like, because Chip Kelly historically – you can go into the X's and O's a little bit more on this, but historically he's been more of a run-heavy offensive coordinator than a passing one. And the reality is he's going to have arguably the best backfield in college football with a quarterback who isn't necessarily a run-first guy, you know, by trait, but certainly has the ability to tuck and run. Will Howard, I assume, is going to be the quarterback, and if he's not, Devin Brown or Lincoln Kienholz both are mobile guys. So I can see where that's going to be a big part of this, but it's not like Ohio State doesn't have a good receiver room, right? This is the first time we're thinking about an Ohio State offense almost potentially changing shape entirely, because it's been so pass heavy under Ryan Day, because that's what their skill set's been. And now potentially it could look different.
Yeah, and that's such an exciting proposition too, because, you know, I think that we talked about it a bunch last year. You know, go to your strengths, right? The strength was running the football. We were trying to kind of force it down the field, and it just really wasn't working. But now it's like, hey, if our strength's going to be running the ball, you know, you feel really good about what Chip Kelly brings to the table from a run game perspective. All of his teams have been really forceful in the run game. But hey, if we come out and Will Howard's throwing it all over the field, and you know, you got all of our massive, awesome receiving core that's still around. They're playing really well. You know, it can kind of be a pick your poison type of a deal where he can really choose, hey, if we want to be a run-heavy team, great. We're going to have two best backs in the country. If we want to be a pass-heavy team, great. We're going to have one of the best receiving corps in the country. And it's something that, you know, he's got to be chomping at the bit about, because it's a really good situation to just kind of fall into, if you will.
So I don't know that I want to go on like some soliloquy here, but I have an interesting thought, and I want your opinion on this. Chip Kelly wasn't available, but he was available. And the idea that a sitting head coach at a Power 5 school, who, by the way, is now in one of the two biggest conferences in the country, the idea that he wants to leave his head coaching job and go be an assistant for the first time since, I think, 2012 was the last time he was an assistant coach anywhere. That kind of tells me all that I need to know about college football in 2024. It has changed so much in a fairly short amount of time, and it's not like a big surprise. I get the impression that Chip Kelly really didn't get along with UCLA athletic director, and it sounded like the board was kind of ready to move on from him anyways, but couldn't afford to fire him. Different story here than what we're getting at. But the idea that you would want to go be an assistant somewhere else is kind of a jarring thought. And yet for him, it probably makes perfect sense. He's a football guy to his core. He doesn't have to do any fundraising. He doesn't have to do any of the other stuff that is required now of a head coach. And frankly, Anthony, there's probably only like 10 schools in the country that actually have the resources that can win. And if he doesn't have to go do the things he wants to do, or I should say the things that he doesn't want to do, and now he can just literally come here, be the head coach of the offense and call plays and coach quarterbacks. I mean, as an Ohio State fan, sign me up, let alone as Chip, where do I sign? But man, that is a wild thought in college football.
It's a dream scenario for him. And I think even more towards your point, not only is it a wild thought in college football, there's only a handful of schools that you would jump for. And it just shows, again, we know the Ohio State brand, right? We've grown up in the Ohio State brand. We cover the Ohio State brand. You understand now the reach that it has and the strength that the brand name has. You just got a head coach to jump to become an offensive coordinator. Like, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in normal places. Like, it's truly an amazing feat. And we talked about it the other night. Ohio State not afraid to open up the checkbook this offseason. And I'm sure that was a part of it. But still, it doesn't even matter. Like, that part doesn't even matter. He gets the opportunity to just coach football. And that's what, at the end of the day, all of these guys, they're just ball guys at their core. They just want to deal with football. They just want to deal with creating the offense. And he's got that opportunity to do it at arguably the best football school in the entire country. I mean, it's just a perfect marriage of a guy who, you didn't think was available, like you said, but you're able to make it happen. And he's in a better spot in Ohio State, in my opinion. Potentially he's in a better spot too.
And again, look, this is not an official hire by the school yet, right? It hasn't been announced that he's officially signed on the dotted line and this is done. But several major college football national reporters, Pete Thamel put it out there, and I think Bruce Feldman as well. And it sounds like he's already told UCLA he's leaving, although he didn't say where he's going yet. It's a weird thing for a coach to be like looking for the next gig, because he was interviewing for offensive coordinator jobs in the NFL. He did not want to coach at UCLA anymore. And I've said this at times in the past on our show and elsewhere. I mean, Los Angeles is a tough place to be a college coach. And I know it sounds weird. That is not a college sports town. It's a Lakers town and it's a Dodgers town. And if you're good, fans will generally support you. But go look at the stadium at USC and at UCLA. There's a lot of empty seats all the time there. It's a different animal in Columbus. It's, Ohio State football is a religion on Saturday, the same way you get up and go to church on Sunday morning. You schedule your day around it. And, Chip Kelly's going to get a chance to come here and work with a guy who professionally he has worked with for basically half of his life. Somebody who, he and Ryan implicitly trust each other. Chip Kelly is Ryan Day's closest mentor. And, I don't think this is necessarily going to be like a weird thing where Ryan's in charge and Chip is not. I think Ryan is hiring Chip because he wants him to be exactly who he is, so that Ryan can take some of that stuff off his plate and focus on the other things that need his attention.
Well, remember in his press conference the other day, he said we're not just going to give it up to anybody, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about this. He wants the CEO to be the CEO of the team, and he wants someone to lead the offense. But like you said, he's not going to just bring in any Joe Schmo and give him the offense. Like you said, these two have a relationship, and that's part of it. It's not just, hey, you've been great in the past. I want your offense, and I want you to run it and all that stuff. No, they work well together, and they're going to work well together, and that's so important. When your offensive coordinator, who's now the play caller, and your head coach see eye to eye and they're on the same page, that is powerful, because, you're going to get elements of Chip Kelly's offense. You're going to get elements of Ryan Day's amazing offensive football mind, and they're going to be able to marry themselves together. And there's not going to be ego involved in it. It's not going to be, hey, this was my play or this was my play. It's all going to be very collaborative, and that's powerful in and of itself. That's another reason why this matchup and this marriage makes perfect sense.
I don't know whether or not to thank Jeff Hafley or, what to think about here. I mean, this is obviously a really weird scenario. And personally, I was pretty fired up when Ryan was bringing Bill O'Brien to town. I think Bill O'Brien was a great hire. I also don't necessarily fault Bill. I've since learned a lot about his family situation, how unique it is, and frankly, how challenging it is. And if the opportunity to be a head coach, existed for him in a city where his son, who needs the medical attention, can have better access to that, I wish him well. It's disappointing for Ohio State fans, but Ohio State seems to have landed on its feet quite nicely within a couple of hours. The reality is, even though how this played out publicly, let's not kid ourselves. Bill probably had some inclination that this might happen. And I'm sure Ryan called Chip Kelly and said, hey, look, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if it does, are you in? That was probably the interview. I don't think there was a whole lot of hard-hitting questions in that interview. So, we talked about it the other day, Anthony. Ohio State is the kind of brand that everybody drops everything for when an opportunity opens up, and you don't have to, quote unquote, be available to take a swing at having a job. And, relationships matter, and there is a lot of trust between Ryan and Chip, and, it's full systems go, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
It's just amazing to me. And like, just thinking about it is like, Ohio State got the best option that was really available in Bill O'Brien, the first time for, the first go at it. He leaves, and within, like you said, within hours, obviously this has probably been in the works for a while, but like, just gets the next best option. Like, literally, this is if Bill O'Brien's 1A, Chip Kelly's 1B. Like, you can't have your
1A and 1AA. It's not really 1A
right.
and 1B. It's like,
exactly.
Here we are.
They're on the same exact level from, like we said, from an experience standpoint, from an X's and O's standpoint, from a, just everything across the board. You got to be fired up about the fit, and it's just got to make you laugh as an Ohio State fan. Like, this dude just dropped a head coaching job to come be the OC. Like, come on, that doesn't happen. There's a handful of programs that happens to. Ohio State's one of them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of momentum right now, and the train keeps rolling on. And I'm glad that Ryan Day said in his press conference what you brought up at the end of our show a couple days ago. They're not putting slogans on T-shirts. It's just go to work, and you know what you need to do. You're good enough to do it. Now go get ready to do it. This team's built to win a championship, and the unexpected curveball. I think it's been handled just fine.
I think we hit it. I think they hung back and hit one into the gap in right field on that curveball. It landed on their feet for sure.
Buddy, I think it was a home run. I think you pulled a head coach. You pulled a head coach away from a Power 5 program to come be the offensive coordinator, and like don't have to worry about any trust issues with anything. Like that's not a line drive double. That's a game-winning homer with the game on the line.
I love it.
Yeah, well done by Ryan Day for sure. For all the latest news and info on the team, we got you covered, BuckeyesNow.com, and on this YouTube channel as well.